Here's a quick disclaimer. The views, statements, and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers. The statements are not intended to be product claims or medical advice. Hi, Diana Freig here. I'm the host of the Gooder podcast, where I get to talk with the powerhouse women in the food, beverage, and wellness categories about their journeys to success and their insights on the industry. This episode is brought to you by Retail Voodoo. Retail Voodoo is a brand development firm providing strategic brand and design services for brands in the food, wellness, and beverage industries. Our clients include Starbucks, Kind, REI, PepsiCo, High Key, and many other market leaders. So if your goal is to crush your competition by driving growth and disrupting the marketplace with new and innovative ideas, give us a call and let's talk. To find out more, you can visit retail-voodoo.com. Well, today I am very excited to introduce Fiona Lee, who is co-founder of Pod Foods Co., a logistic and technology enablement B2B marketplace connecting brands directly with retailers and built for the new era of grocery. And we're going to learn what that means here in just a minute. But a little bit more about Fiona. Originally from Singapore, Fiona came to San Francisco and started a food company together with her co-founder, Larissa. Frustrated with the existing system of distribution, which revolved around outdated technologies and hidden costs, they decided to create a distribution network to enable products to sell to retail stores. Leveraging on their experience as a food manufacturer, the two co-founders built a B2B marketplace that leverages data, technology, as well as existing logistics infrastructure to provide both stores and vendors a more affordable and accessible way to sell and source products. So, hello, Fiona. How are you?
Hi, Diana. It's so good to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm doing really well today.
Of,
How are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. And you are in Florida. Is that right?
Yes, I am. Good weather
Yeah, in
here.
Florida. Is it good today?
Yeah, it's not too hot. It's also not cold. Pretty much perfect.
Yeah, you guys had a little bit of a bananas winter, right? Or I don't know if it maybe exactly where you are was, but I know Florida had some strange weather this winter, didn't it?
It got a little cold the last couple of weeks, which was strange for Florida, but now it's back on track.
Mhm. Okay, good. Check that box. Excellent. Okay. I
Yes.
want to start off with there is a member in our listener community, which I went back through all of my notes and I couldn't find, who recommended Fiona and I chat about her business. And then Fiona reached out as well. And I am so sorry that I can't remember the name of the person or can't find his name. But I just really want to say thank you, listeners, for recommending women like this to be on the show, people who are great contributors. I really like to bring on guests that are recommended as much as I can because I want you guys to hear from the people that you want to hear from. So thank you to the universe of listeners for bringing Fiona to us. I want to first, Fiona's brand is not a food brand. We don't always work in the food or beverage or wellness space, but her company is very, very integral to these brands, CPG brands, of fast moving CPG brands. So I really would like to start with the basics. Fiona, can you tell us a little bit more about Pod Food and the reason why you created it?
Yeah, definitely. So Pod Foods is a B2B marketplace. We connect emerging brands to grocery retailers, both online and offline. And we function pretty much like a traditional distributor, but we're entirely tech and data enabled. So we come to grocery stores on a truck with all of these amazing brands and deliver to the grocery stores to put on store shelves. And this company was started about 6 years ago now. Time flies, really. But 6 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
3 years before that, the founding of this company, Larissa and I had a cookie company, and we were just like one of these emerging brands trying to make our way onto grocery store shelves. And that was where we learned a lot about distribution and about how difficult it was with the incumbent system to get our products onto grocery store shelves. It was not only incredibly expensive, but the distributors would serve as a gatekeeper. And not to mention that there would be all of these fees and deductions, and we will have no idea where our product will be going, or who they're selling to at what price point, nor how much money we're going to receive at the end of the day, uh, to sustain our business. So it was just like the necessary evil, as everyone was calling it in the industry. So Larissa and I saw this problem, and being in San Francisco, we were super inspired. It was kind of like a Silicon Valley vibe that was happening all around. And there was an app for literally anything you want to do in your life. And we said, how can there not be a tech or data solution for something so important as food distribution, which literally affects every person that we know of? Like everyone goes to the grocery store. So we said,
Right.
well, let's hang up our aprons, let's turn off the oven, and forget the cookie company. We have a much more important mission to accomplish, which is to build a really strong distribution solution for all of these emerging brands who work so hard every day just to get their products to the consumers and to make some money for themselves, and just to share like their family recipe, or the sometimes it could be an amazing product that's so much better for you. It's a product that comes from another part of the world, like all of these amazing things, and just gaining letting consumers have access to these products at an affordable price. That's how Pot Foods came about.
Mhm. Mhm. And how big is your region now? Are you guys nationwide?
Yeah, we are national. We got national last year with the expansion into
Last year.
Sprouts Farmers Market. So that was really exciting. And we, even though I say we're national, but we have also a regional focus. So what that means is, as a brand, if you wanted to expand with us and you say, I just want to be in California, that's all I want to be in, and that's totally fine, right? Like we allow our brands to to grow based on their speed of
Mhm.
growth, and as well as the locations that they want to be in. So there are brands that come to us right away and they say, we are a national brand. We need you to service all of these locations, all of these stores. That's fine with us as well. We can grow really fast, and we. Because of the way our model works, we don't own any warehouse, we don't own any trucks. We work with 3PL partners to have this, and they're all plugged into our system. Everyone's like, it's a whole
Interesting.
network of 3PL partners. And that enables us to very quickly expand our capacity. So if we're running short on warehousing space, we can very quickly activate a new warehouse, expand that, bring on more products. Or if we need to go into a new location, we can also very quickly stand up a new warehouse and get trucks going and distributing products. So that enables us to move really quickly as a distributor versus having to spend a lot of time and resources opening up a warehouse.
Yeah, you so less time spent building a physical infrastructure and more time spent building a digital infrastructure that allows you to be agile, it sounds like.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Tell us about those early days, because I for me, we build brands all the time. We help big brands build brands. We help little brands build their brands. And to me, I understand that process, but I'm thinking, how do you build a business where you need to be in a lot of places in order to be profitable in a very short period of time? So maybe tell us what some of those interesting learnings were, those that like that first year.
I would say that the very first year, we were not necessarily thinking about profitability right away. What we
Mhm.
were thinking about was finding product market fit, right? So for the very first
Mhm.
year, it was like, does the market actually need a solution like that? And even though we were super convinced, we didn't want to be delusional as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur. And so it was very clear that how we started. it was like we just stood up a very quick and dirty Shopify site as a test, sort of like a test. We got a couple of
Mhm.
brands on that test site, and we just went out and started selling to retailers and say, hey, buy products from this website and we will deliver it to you and pay us money. And at the beginning, we actually started making money from day one, even with our very, very lousy,
Really?
yeah, with our very
Wow.
lousy test Shopify site. Um, and we were like, wow, okay, like there's really something going. Like we could actually have a business. And then we started experimenting with the business model. We started initially we were charging retailers to work with us, which we found didn't really make sense after a while, even though they were paying. And then we switched to realizing that well, we it was a viable business model to charge for every transaction that would go through, very similar to what e-commerce players like Amazon and eBay would do. It's every sale that you
Yeah.
make, you take a percent. And that's our model till today. Of course, we had to adjust our percentages a little bit here and there as we trial and
Sure.
error and everything. But that's our essentially that's our entire business model. And in the early days, it was very clear also as we were figuring out logistics that there was always going to be a fixed cost component or almost fixed cost because it costs the
Yeah.
same to stop the truck every
Yeah.
time, but the amount of product that would be on that truck would vary. So the more products we are delivering per stop, would the more products we deliver, the more money we would make because
Right.
the cost.
Absolutely. I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a very simple economics model, and when we thought about it, we were like, yeah, like it doesn't even require that much scale that people would think traditional distribution required, because the reality of it is we just need to make enough money per stop to be profitable. Um,
Mhm.
So that's how we scaled, and that's how we continue to grow our business until today. That's how the business model works, and that's how also we know all of the levers required of us to drive profitability in our company.
Mhm. Love it. So, how did you learn about this complicated ecosystem? Are you guys just kind of working your way through it, or do you have any mentors, or where are you learning about this ecosystem?
Well, we kind of picked it all up ourselves as we learned about this industry. So
Wow.
we were pretty young. I mean, now I'm not so young anymore, but I think when I started this company with Larissa, we were still in our early 20s, and there was just so much
Mhm.
learning we had to do. I think that when we started, most people in the industry probably think that we wouldn't really go get anywhere. But we were so
Mm.
convinced, we believed so
Really?
hard in ourselves and our idea that we just
R
kept going on. And we learn through talking to our customers. We learn through mistakes that we make. Till today, we're still learning through some of the mistakes we make, and we just keep trying to get better day by day, day by day. Eventually,
Mhm.
especially now, the industry is starting to take notice of us, which is very exciting. And we have people who have decades of experience in the industry just coming to us and saying, "I would love to be a part of this. Like I have all these
You're
experience."
kidding, that's amazing.
Yeah, like like what you guys have built is what the industry has never seen. It's what the industry desperately needs, and I want to join you on this journey. Like whether as an investor, advisor, like directly into the leadership management
Mm.
team, all of that stuff. So it's
Mhm.
very cool right now to be where we are, I think.
That's fantastic. Now, at what point did you know that you were headed in the right direction? Was it pretty early, or as what, and what was the indicator where where you were both, you and Larissa were saying, "Yeah, this is working. This is going the direction we had hoped."
Um, so I think that we had so much conviction at the beginning that there never really was a point of time where we doubted ourselves, where we were like, maybe
Wow.
is not going to work. And that's the element of being
Mhm.
delusional, I guess, for an entrepreneur. So I mean, I think we just made it work. And it was so clear that there wasn't a good solution out there. Like it was just obvious. It was like a big fat gaping hole. It was just like a big hole
Yeah,
needed to be filled, and we just tried filling it. Like we just every day we were working on filling this big hole, and we
yeah,
still are till today. And I think the biggest indication of product market fit is when we start actually having good revenue and making money,
right,
and
right.
seeing that the more deliveries we make, the more product we're delivering, we're making money. And the more brands work with
Yeah,
us, the more retailers work with us, that's just an indication of the flywheel that is happening, and then the big network that we're
yeah,
building now.
yeah. Wow. So, I mentioned earlier, Fiona and I met digitally after a post I made on social media caught a bunch of people's eyes, quite frankly. I had returned from the fancy food show in Las Vegas earlier this year and was caught off guard as I was talking to established brands and emerging brands alike about the volume of complaints about national distribution, that the lack of opportunity, the lack of transparency, that the national distribution model was more focused on upselling and marketing opportunities than it was really about taking care of the brands and getting them on shelf and helping retailers get product on shelf. And the response online was pretty intense as well, as I'd made a comment on LinkedIn, right? And I'm curious, are you hearing these things as well, or is this kind of a small? Did I just happen to step into a echo chamber, or what are you hearing from these emerging brands?
Yeah, it's funny because this problem has existed for a really, really long time, but it's only very
Yeah,
recent, I would say maybe the last couple of months, that we are hearing a lot about. Like people are getting more vocal about it with examples, and I guess they're no longer afraid to speak up with how unfairly they
yeah,
have been treated by these big companies. So and really this is the problem that we've been solving for since we started this company 6 years ago. um, I think what is leading to the rise in brands just sharing their stories is because, um, well, we are going into a time where money is becoming expensive to get.
yeah,
Every retailer, every brand, every business has to figure out how to maximize their profit, or how
yeah,
to create a sustainable business. And
yeah,
uh, in the last couple of years, I mean, before COVID and everything, like we've been living in a pretty prosperous time, I would say.
yeah. Agreed.
There also hasn't been a lot of, or like this big explosion or awareness about eating food that's better for you, or consumers like
Hmm.
wanting to find new and better brands. So now after COVID, which was a huge accelerant as well, COVID kind of made retailers realize that they have to start bringing in these new innovative brands to compete with online retail, and to
Yeah,
appease their customers and keep their customers from coming back. So all of these these are all like combination of factors, right, that led to what is happening right now, where brands are
yeah,
saying we have more power now because we have consumers that are willing to open their wallets and buy our products because they know it's good for them.
yes,
We also have more of us, and we also need to make money. And so why are we suffering in this old traditional legacy system
yep,
that is super
yep,
opaque, doesn't do us any good, tries to squeeze us out of every single dollar we have, and at the end of the
yeah,
day doesn't give a care about us at all. So I think
yep,
it really is a perfect time for Pod Foods to shine. We've always said this is a problem we're solving for. From the very first day, we are a distributor for the brands because we, the founders, like my co-founder and I, we used to be a brand. Like we felt that, we understood that. We used to not be able to afford to buy our own cookies on store shelves because it was so expensive, like by the time it got to retail.
right.
And it made no
That
sense.
seems ridiculous, right?
Right, exactly. Like, why is it that only the people with high income or whatever it is, like more disposable income, can afford to buy these organic, healthy, good for you products? No,
Right.
like more people should have
Right.
access to it. It shouldn't just be in California or New York. It should be like the whole country because everyone needs that.
Exactly.
So here we are today. I think back to the point of, like, do you step into echo chamber? I think a little, yes. If you're in the industry, you are very aware of this, but it's also that everyone
Sure.
right now is just like speaking up and saying, "Hello, I am here. I have problems. Like this is bad. There needs to be a better way."
Sure. Sure. And Fiona, you and I are talking the same language. So one of the biggest things that I have been working on with this podcast, quite frankly, is democratize healthy food and better for you eating. I think we have been focused on this really small group of people that are upper middle class, high net worth individuals, and thinking that they're the only ones that are interested in being healthy. And the reality is the whole rest of the world wants to be healthy too. They don't want to get sick because most of the time they can't afford to get sick. So they
Right.
want access to these products, but
Yeah.
there's some of it is the cost of doing business, especially when you're an emerging brand. You have high costs because that's the way it works. But as you mature as a brand, I think you have an opportunity to find and develop products that are a little bit more mass market and friendly. But I think there's a greed component. And I have plenty of friends that work that are in equity, and I have plenty of friends that like to flip brands and people that we've worked with for years. But when we're looking at is maximizing revenue to maximize value so that people get really lucrative exits, that doesn't align with an industry that says, we want to help you live your best life. We want you to live a healthy. There's a disconnect there between like squeezing every last dollar out of a category simply to make a lot of money. And I think there's needs to be some more work there. And it's it's a struggle because I watch like these big CPGs, the Kellogg's and the
Mhm.
General Mills of the world, the PepsiCos that are entering into kind of a better for you space from the other side, like incrementally better. So instead of going from a
Yep.
Cheeto to a kale chip, you might go from a fried Cheeto to a baked Cheeto. And for
Yeah.
people who eat those products, that is a healthy move for them, that single move. They're not going to jump to a kale chip right away. And
Right.
yet, I think I've seen some backlash from people within the naturals industry kind of chastising these really big organizations for making these small moves, but the industry's looking for it. So I think I'm looking for some more harmony, and I think the way you're addressing it is a little bit more harmonious. If we can take some of the costs out of out of getting product to shelf, and then therefore being able to extend the reach because we can reduce the cost of product on shelf, why wouldn't we do that? That is the whole point of the industry, right?
Yeah, exactly. The cost of the product, even as a small brand, yes, it's more expensive than like your Oreos, of course, but
Right.
it's not insane. Like it's not going to be insane to the point where it's like a bottle of oat milk is going to cost you like $12 on the shelf. Like it doesn't
Right.
need to be that. um, the
Right.
whole thing is like, first, yes, reducing the cost by having a more efficient supply chain is number one, but number two, it's also a lot about optimizing for less waste, right? Like if we
Yes.
have a lot of data and we know that this product will sell well in certain locations,
Yeah.
the brand is more targeted into where they're selling. They know how much inventory they need to move through the supply chain. There's just less waste, which also equates back to less cost. And then it just increases profit. And then
Yeah.
finally, it's allowing them to grow at the pace that is sustainable for them so that they don't suddenly go out of business, right? Like with all the pressure from
Right.
VCs and investors, like pump money in to like just get your top line up. But are you watching your
Yes.
costs sustainable? At some point, this whole system is going to collapse. And I think that like 2023, we're going to see a lot of shakeup because money is more expensive. It's so hard to get
Yeah.
funding. There's just like things are changing at a pace that we don't. even know how fast it is right now, and
Right.
retailers have to adapt, brands have to adapt, and what we just need is data. We need to be able to move fast, and we need to be very, very efficient.
You said something that has me super excited, and that is a more efficient system also means not just less expensive, but from an environmental standpoint, has a smaller environmental impact as well. And I hadn't considered that. So we're shipping products back and forth because it's not being, we're getting chargebacks and moving product all over the place. That's inefficiency as well. And when we have the kind of access to data and the technology is evolving at the rate that it is, it seems like everything's pointed at where what you guys are leading. That's so exciting.
Yeah,
So exciting.
it is very exciting. I started this company from the very first day. I said that because we are right smack in the middle of everything and we have first party data, data is our real pot of gold. Like the distribution, like the
Yes.
logistics, all that is fantastic. It's great. It's a business. It works and we can make money. Great.
Yes.
Really, what is the pot of gold here is the data that we're collecting that we use to drive predictive demand. We can influence product recommendations, we can influence on pricing, promotions, all of that by looking at data, by being able to understand where products should be selling, at what price, and when, taking into
Yes.
account like seasonality, taking into account like weather, taking into account demand trends, right? Like kale chips
Love
used
it.
to be really popular, but I don't know if kale chips is the next hottest thing right now. you know, like I've heard that I've seen data that mushroom stuff are like really in trend now, and then
Yes.
adaptogenics, like these are things that didn't exist I think 2 years ago. And now it's like wow, blowing.
No.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
all the different kinds of
Okay.
plant-based milk as well, so that's what we're very focused on as a company, and we're really
Yeah.
investing for the long term.
So, so we're talking about technology and data and AI. Love data. I always like to say data is great, but it's backwards facing. Got use you want to use that as a benchmark for setting trends moving forward. But
Yeah.
when we're working in a world right now where we have different types of AI, I'm curious, how are you guys utilizing kind of predict? I know I think you guys you use the term predictive data, but are you using any kind of models out there or new technologies, or you may not even be able to speak to it because I don't know if you want to let that behind the curtain show up. But how is technology influencing you, and what kind of data or what type of technology are you guys considering moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, happy to speak. We're pretty transparent as a company. Transparency is the name of the game here. So, with data,
Awesome. I love it. Love it.
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go so far as to like call ourselves like a crazy AI company because that's really not. We're not building like the next Chat GPT, obviously, but what we're
Right.
doing is with machine learning, there's a lot that we can keep getting better at. So we build predictive models that looks at the data and just as an example to illustrate my point, we need to make sure that inventory is continuously coming into our warehouse, not too much, so that we have
Right.
because we're food, we just don't want it to like waste away or it's just taking up space and causing cost for no reason. So we want the right amount of inventory at each of our warehouse at all times.
Hmm.
And to do that is it sounds easy, but it's actually very complicated because you have to look at the demand, right? And you have to look at historical
Right.
demand, obviously. But the demand patterns change a lot depending on time, day, like
Yeah.
seasonality, right? Like during the winter time, um, things like tea sells out really fast. Like during
Right.
the cold season, people are just like buying teas all the time. And then during the summertime, you're seeing like a spike in refrigerated beverages and all that. So demand trends change. Retailers also have their own promotional schedules. They have their
Right.
events. They run, and sometimes brands would set up a demo in store, and that changes the demand again. And it's hard really to be very good at predicting exactly how much inventory to come in. So we have to
Sure.
record all of these data points of what led to any change in demand up or down, and recording all that, and our algorithm, our machine learning model takes all that and keeps learning to get better and better at predicting demand for the brand. And as
Sure.
we grow and as we expand, as we sell the brand into more and more locations, more and more stores, all that is taken into consideration so that we can go to the brand and say, all right, you this is the time where you have to send in more product. This is the amount of product you have to send in right now. And the brands that work with us rely on our recommendations to get product in. Granted, there's a lot of times where a brand says, I see that you asked for 100 cases of product, but unfortunately, I can only manufacture 80 cases, or my factory
Yeah.
like burned down and I
Yeah.
can, I am late. I'm sorry, like I have to find a new co-packer, whatever it is. And again, that would also affect like the inbound, right? So this is a very complex process that
Yeah.
requires, I think, it like just the human brain and Excel spreadsheets is not gonna make it through. You
No.
really need a data science team. You need like people building models to understand this, and there will never be a point where I'll get to like 100%, like 100% accuracy. No, but I can get as close
Right.
as I can to that, and
No.
what it is, but we're getting there.
Right. That's fabulous. I'm over here, you can't see because it's happening in my brain. I'm kind of geeking out a little bit. Those of you that listen to my podcast on a regular basis know that I'm currently enrolled in an MBA program. And a big project that we're working on right now um, is this level of ecosystem for a multinational. Of course, it's all fabricated, but so as you're talking, it's so awesome to hear a real life application to a new industry using new ways of thinking, because of course the models that I'm working on are traditional models, which are different. So I'm seeing in my head, I'm going through the translation and going, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I
Yeah,
love
and
it.
it's even more difficult
um
for like small brands, right? Like the MNCs, they have been doing this for years. They get it. When you're a small brand, wow, any factor can change anything.
right. Right. I mean, yes. I think of what I love about the opportunity that you are presenting through your business is in the best interest of everybody in the entire value chain. The entrepreneurs find an opportunity to distribute their product. That's a major hurdle right there in and of itself. Finding manufacturers also a challenge, but now you've got it manufactured. How do you get it out to people? DTC is not the end all be all. It is not as inexpensive as the entire world makes it seem. And in most cases, actually, distribution is a better methodology. But if you are begging these really large organizations that are not interested in you as an emerging brand or a smaller mid-sized brand because you can't bring enough profitability to them based the way that they run their business, then the end consumer does and the retailer get no value and the entrepreneur is stuck oftentimes with really great ideas. So this model that you're presenting provides it's like a win across everything. It is just phenomenal to me that couple of people who were making cookies just got fed up one day and said, we're doing this. I It's just fantastic and outstanding. And I love the fact that you just zagged and said, we're just gonna do this. And why, because why not?
Yeah. Well, thanks for all the compliments. That felt pretty good. But yeah, it was. I mean, it was a very crazy idea, right? I think that if we were in the industry and had like 20 years of experience, we probably wouldn't
Yeah.
have said, let's do this. We would have been like, it would
No.
be way too difficult to do this. But because we were kind of naive and young and very ambitious, we were
Yes.
just like, we're gonna make this work no matter what. Like
Mm-hmm.
we have nothing to
Mm-hmm.
lose and everything to gain. So fast forward, here we
Yes.
are today, still.
Well, Well, I'm so fascinated and energized by this idea and this conversation. I'm curious, want to step away from the the conversation about doing the business and kind of stepping back and thinking to yourself now, having gone through this short journey, because clearly you've got many years in front of you with what you're working on. But what advice do you give other people who come to you and go, how did you do this? Why did you do this? What do you typically say to people who want to take on a big challenge?
Yeah, that's a really good one. I mean, there's so many things to say, right? But if I have to just say one thing,
I'm sure.
if I have to say one thing, I would say
Well,
that,
choose a couple of things that you find yourself consistently saying, maybe.
yeah, it is, don't give up. Like, don't, like, even till now. Yesterday, I had a really hard day. I had a day where it was like a
Oh,
retailer is really angry at us, and we had some big issue at a warehouse, and we have like basic like distribution issues, and it was like, wow, there's a lot of fires all at once. Today is
yeah.
much better
That's the
day.
way it
Like,
works.
yeah, and then today the retailer is no longer angry, and we solved the problem at the warehouse. And then it's like, okay, well, two fires got extinguished. Hey, it's a pretty good day. So it's like, it's such a seesaw being an entrepreneur, especially if you're creating something from
Yeah.
scratch and nobody has done it before, and nobody out there is going to be like your biggest supporter except for yourself. Like, you just have to support yourself. The only person that can get you through this is yourself. And of course, my co-founder and I, we
Yeah.
lean on each other a lot, and without her, I don't think I would be doing this really. Like, we just, our good energies like vibrate off each other. And so that's why we're here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really difficult journey. You have good days, you have bad days, and if you have that conviction and you really want to keep
Mhm.
going, you just have to keep going and believing in yourself.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like, every
Well,
extra day makes a difference, because you might be like, oh, I'm not going to make it through this week. But if you can get through this week and then you go to another week, something might change. Someone might step into your life and change something. So you just never know.
that's really fantastic advice. I'm probably going to send this raw interview to my cohort because everybody's working on projects right now, and I think it's we all get wound around the axle about things that are not working, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes we have to step back and go, in the grand scheme of things, these things are all fixable. We can all do something about it and look for those bright spots, as we're calling them in class, and leverage those. Yes, you need to fix the broken things, but if something is working well, why wouldn't you double down on that and work on the things that are broken instead of focusing everything that's on what's broken? And it sounds to me like that's what you guys are doing. This is working well. Let's put some gas in here. This is not working well. How do we handle it? Fantastic.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it. Well, maybe can you share what's next for you? What's next for you, or what's next for Pod Foods that you want to share with people?
We are very excited to keep expanding across the country into many retailers. That it just sounds like business as usual, really, but it's actually very exciting because um, we started working with retailers like who were just one or two stores, maybe a mom and pop neighborhood bodega or something like that, and then
Yeah.
grew into like regional chains which have like 10, 20 stores, and
Yeah.
now hundreds of stores, and soon thousands of stores, and each of these customers is like a whole different demographic. They have different needs,
Mhm.
they have different requirements, and it's just so much learning every time. And likewise, on the brand
Mhm.
side, it's working with brands who are just starting out, working with them who, when they're at the co-packer, just trying to get going, or now we are working with brands who are 100 million in sales, sometimes even a billion in sales, just like really big brands all
Mhm.
around. even brands that are international where they ship product in,
Mhm.
so multinational corporations that are international and want to distribute in the US. So a lot of learnings
Mhm.
all the time, everywhere, and expanding into new locations like in Florida right now, where I'm trying to land a really big retailer here. So I moved here and very excited to see that through.
Oh, you moved just to wow. So, people, this is commitment. I'm just telling you, this is commitment. Had
Yeah.
not considered doing that. I think
Yeah.
I might have to move to New York to work on those brands that I wanna work with.
Well, New York's a great city. Yeah, I did
Yeah.
that.
Well,
I
yeah,
did this.
we're in Seattle, and Seattle's got some pretty amazing brands out here, that's for sure. But,
Seattle's a
oh,
great place to be. It's a very lovely city.
for sure. Well, Fiona, I you know what? I clearly you can tell I'm just chuffed is the word I'm going to use. I'm really enjoying our conversation. Our time is almost up, but there's one question I like to ask everybody. It's a little off the topic that we're talking about, and that is other women leaders. It could be in our industry or not, but are there any other women out there that you would like to elevate for the work that they're doing right now?
I find it very hard to pick someone, but
Sure.
that's because I come across so many brands every day, and so
Yeah.
many of these brands are women-owned. They are just really kick-ass founders who
Yes.
create amazing product and just work so hard and put their team
Yes.
together, put their product together, come up with like the most amazing thing that you can buy on the shelf, and be out there
Yeah.
hustling, like doing demos in
Oh,
store, just flying all over, just trying to get their product to consumers. So I think all of these women deserves a really big shout out. And some retailers also they try to buy products that are women owned. Like they're like, hey, do you have any women owned uh, items in this category? And we would have a list for them. So these are attributes that we
mhm.
collect also on the brand side. And yeah, all these women founders, just want to really give a very big shout out to them.
Yeah. I did incidentally, I recorded an episode with Kira Dilley. She's vice president over at Frito-Lay. I don't know if you're familiar with her name or not. And she told me in one of our conversations that there's a statistic out there that the number of startup brands in general, not just food and beverage, but the percentage of startup brands that are started by women, single moms, percentage wise, is significantly larger than people might think. And I don't know what that number is right now. Otherwise, I'd capture it and share it out. But she said the reason why entrepreneurship is so exciting for women is it allows them to care for their families in a way that a traditional corporate job does not allow them to. And that is why you see so much innovation, especially now that women have access to capital and access to resources and access to networks, where I think that's going to only accelerate.
Yeah, exactly. And that's also the inspiration or the story behind a lot of these brands that you see, when you go grocery shopping. It's funny. I would always look at the labels of product, and they would always be like made with love, like love as an ingredient and all that. So
Yeah.
you always see it everywhere, and I think this is where the inspiration comes from. It's like they're just trying to create a better product for their family, for their
Yeah.
children,
Their
and
community.
yeah, exactly. And then now giving it to the world.
Oh, I love it. Wow. Fiona Lee, co-founder of Pod Foods Co. Fiona, where can people learn more about you and your company?
Well, you can send me an email at fiona@podfoods.co, or you can reach out to me
Okay.
on LinkedIn, or I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, I don't have any other channels. So LinkedIn or email, or you can find out about Pod Foods. We have an Instagram. You can go to our website. We're very accessible. We're
Great.
just like any other tech company out there. If you email us,
Mhm.
we'll respond very quickly.
Awesome. Thank you for your time to Fiona today, Fiona. I am so excited to have spent time with you, and I really look forward to not what you're doing now, but I'm also like, you are definitely somebody that I'll be watching for a while, and just great
Thank you.
things. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me and
And
allowing
then
me.
I want to thank all of you listeners. Pardon?
I was just saying thanks for having me and for allowing me to share the story of pod foods.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding? My pleasure. Absolutely, 100%. And I want to thank all of you listeners for your time today. If you like this episode, please share it with a friend. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you next time on the Gooder Podcast.
Produced by Heartcast Media.